Welcome, everybody. What is up? Back here on Full Court Talk. We're on a week of hiatus, and it was probably the worst week to take a break off. With at the trade deadline, really didn't think that through, but we had some other personal business to take care of. I'm Brendan DeVinny alongside Will Branza. It is AllStar week. The NBA is on their All-Star break, so perfect time to take a look back at the first half of the season. What a first half it was. Cavaliers did not play like a LeBron James team. Meanwhile, Houston giving Golden State a huge scare as they're a half game in front of the Warriors for first place in the Western Conference. Will, when you take a look back at the first half and what really isn't a half of the season, more like 50 games, and then we got 22 more. But what a half it was. A lot of action going on. Let's take a look at kind of where all the teams are at as they fight for a playoff spot here after All-Star break.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about it, not a first half, but it seems more competitive now. You see teams like Houston, Boston, and Toronto coming through, and this is the first year in a while where people are like, who's going to be in the finals? It's right, Cleveland really and Golden State aren't the front runners anymore.
Yeah, you really don't know anymore. Cleveland, for the first time probably since LeBron came back, at the All-Star break, they're not in either first or second place. They are in third place right now. 6.5 games behind Toronto, who is in first place in the Eastern Conference at 41-16. Boston, they're 40-19. The Raptors and Celtics. Let's take a look at the Eastern Conference first. Is Toronto for real? Because we mentioned this on Raider Zone. If you guys listen, we all said this is what the Raptors do. They play hot in the regular season. They peak, and then they fall off at the worst possible time in the playoffs. Will, are the Raptors for real?
I mean, they have talent and lots of it. They're always that team that is really always in the top three but fails to do anything in the playoffs. But for them, if they get the 1 seed, it could really help them out because if you look at the breakdown, they're 24-4 at home and 17-12 on the road. It's not fun going up to Canada if you're the opposing team. And Toronto shows why, and if they can get this 1 seed, it will definitely help in their favor having 4 home games of a best-of-7 series.
Yeah, it's not always easy to play at the Air Canada Centre on the road up in Canada. Dwayne Casey really has his team playing well, but I've been listening. Other than DeMar DeRozan, they really don't have a superstar that I feel like can lead them in the playoffs, and we've seen this in the past as well. They have Kyle Lowry as well. But they just don't have a LeBron James, a Kevin Durant, a James Harden that can lead them in the playoffs. If you take a look at the Eastern Conference right now, they'd be playing the Heat. They can get past them. But after that, they might run into the Cavs.
Yeah, they're that team that's not... You see the really good teams, they have 2 stars and then a couple average players. They're a team full of talent. You look across the board, Valanciunas, Ibaka, DeMar Carroll. It's all guys that are pretty good but not stars. So they're that average team that's all good, but they don't have that guy that stands out where Cleveland has 2 or 3 stars and all these teams that succeed have a big 2 or a big 3. They kind of just have a kind of a star coming on the scene in DeRozan and 4 players that are good.
Behind them are the Boston Celtics, and we're going to talk about the huge Cavs trade that really impacted Boston coming up. But the Celtics, 40-19, 2 games back behind Toronto, entered the All-Star break on a 3-game losing streak. Obviously, we all know about Gordon Hayward going down in Game 1. That probably has affected the Celtics a little bit. But other than Kyrie Irving, who on the Celtics do you think has helped lead them to a surprising 40-win first half.
Other than the breakout star in Tatum that no one really expected because of Hayward,
Yeah.
I'm going to have to say Marcus Smart, and he is injured right now, but the defensive presence that Marcus Smart provides for that Boston team is huge, and then can run down the court and drain a three if need be. He was kind of that guy that always came off the bench, but I could consider him your starting shooting guard right now the way he's playing this season.
Yeah, that's interesting because Marcus Smart in college, he was known as a shooter, and the NBA looks like he's doing a little more.
Exactly.
Behind the arc. Not just behind the arc, but finding a way to drive against these huge forwards in the league like LeBron and KD, and work with Kyrie Irving. I think that was one thing that a lot of people were worried about. Can Kyrie Irving, as a team leader, find a way to work with the other guys, get them in a flow that he can play with? And I think he did that. Totally did that, and with the help of Brad Stevens, who I feel like is the second best coach in the league, they really surprised a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing for Boston is how young they all are. The problem with the Cavs is they get a bunch of 30-some-year-olds meshing together each season, and it struggles. But you have all guys that are new to the NBA within their first 2 or 3 years. Then Kyrie, he's been playing longer than most because he was drafted at 19, but he's still only 24 years old. And due to the youth, all these guys just mesh together, and the fast pace of play now is working for them. And then Brad Stevens, you said it, second best coach. I totally agree. A coach that stresses defense, and that's why Boston's so good. I mean, you look at the list of opponents' points per game; they're the only team under 100 points per game given up at 99.6.
Yeah, and then we go to the Western Conference. Houston and Golden State. Rockets, a half game in front of the Warriors, and in a conference I feel like it's just unlike the East, down to only 2 teams, the Rockets and the Warriors. This was a first half of the season for Houston I think they really needed. James Harden, Chris Paul, and company really going on a 10-game winning streak entering the AllStar break. They're 44-13, 23-6 at home, so they protected their home court. They've won in their conference. They've won in their division. Not like that matters. And then they've also won on the road. A huge surprise from Houston, I think. No one really expected them to come out of the gate this hot. But Mike D'Antonio and his team down in Texas really, your thoughts on them as they are in first place?
I mean, it's just they're the kind of team that just run and guns 3 points and then gets back on the defensive end, and that's why they're so good. I mean, Golden State finally has met their match, a team that can shoot threes as well as them, with only 2 guys, Harden and Chris Paul, both sharpshooters and great defensive players. Harden sometimes slacks on the defensive end, but
yeah.
The big thing I noticed is 2 ball-dominant guards meshed together that quickly, and that's what surprises everybody, that they're sitting at 44-13. 2 guys that were up there in the top 5 and having the ball in their hand, and for them to get together like that quickly.
In the past, at this point in the season, it's always been Golden State in first and everyone trailing behind them, trying to catch up. Instead, the Rockets are right even with the Warriors. So the question is, can Houston, in a best-of-7 series, knock off the Warriors in the Western Conference Finals? Because, let's face it, the rest of these teams in the West really, I don't think, stand a chance. Maybe the Spurs. But it's probably going to be a Houston-Golden State Conference Finals.
The only way the Spurs stand a chance is if Kawhi comes back. I don't even know what's wrong with him at this point.
Who knows?
But yes, if the Rockets and Warriors played in the best-of-7 series, where especially the Rockets had home court advantage, they definitely stand a chance. I could see them winning in 7. And that's what we were talking about when we first introduced the show. It's the first time in 3 years that we don't know who will be in the finals because it's so competitive in the league right now.
Really don't. And who knows about the Thunder? They might come and surprise a lot of people in the playoffs maybe, but without Kevin Durant, they're just still not the same team. And I don't think veterans like Paul George and Carmelo Anthony are really going to help that. So that leads us to the big question right now, and what everyone's talking about here at the break. the new look Cavs. The Cavaliers last Thursday just did something unprecedented I have never seen in the NBA at the trade deadline. Let's run down what exactly happened in the front office with Kobe Altman and Dan Gilbert. First, the Cavs traded. The Cavs were involved with a 3-team trade with Sacramento and Utah. Cavs traded Iman Shumpert and their 2020 second-round pick from Miami to Sacramento, along with draft rights to Demetrius Agravanis and some cash. They also then traded Jay Crowder and Derrick Rose to Utah and swapped their 2024 second-round picks with the Jazz. And then they received Rodney Hood from Utah and George Hill from Sacramento and draft rights for Arturas Gudaitis from the Kings. Joe Johnson then went to Sacramento from Utah. After that 3-team trade, the Cavaliers traded Isaiah Thomas, Channing Frye, and a first-round pick to the Lakers for young superstars and Larry Nance Jr. and Jordan Clarkson. After that, the Cavaliers also traded LeBron's best friend, Dwayne Wade, to Miami for a protected 2024 second-round pick. That's basically clearing half of the team. They got a second half of the team brand new. That's like 6 guys right there that they just said goodbye. And to much of everyone's surprise, they got actual talent back, younger talent back in return, and along with some more draft picks. But who do you give credit to for all these moves, Kobe Altman or Dan Gilbert?
Kobe Altman. He finally realized that he was going to be a part of a Cavs team that fell apart with LeBron James on it, and he said, I got to do something about it. And he got up and did a lot.
It kind of looks like the 2010 season right now. 2009, 2010.
Mm-hmm.
At that point in the year, really a lot of people weren't even predicting the Cavs to make the finals, and we all know what happened in Boston. That year, they didn't make moves like this to help LeBron. He didn't have any help. He finally has help now.
He left because of it, too.
And so a lot of people are saying that this might actually help LeBron stay in Cleveland, which is the Cavaliers' hopes. If LeBron leaves Cleveland, you can say goodbye to any more finals appearances. But taking a look at this talent now, you have Rodney Hood, who is a perimeter shooter, Larry Nance Jr., a playmaker, George Hill, a veteran who, yes, was on a really crappy team in Sacramento, so not a lot of winning experience. But you then also got Jordan Clarkson from the Lakers, who played with Larry Nance Jr. and can learn the game. We've already seen in 2 games already, 2 huge games against Boston and Oklahoma City. They won both of those, and they really ran away with it with both games in the fourth quarter. Thoughts on those 2 games right now, and do they mean anything for the second half?
Oh, absolutely. What we talked about earlier with Boston is the youth being able to come together, and LeBron's loving it too. I mean, the reaction off the bench against Boston when he was sat in the fourth quarter because they were up by so much. You said a lot of youth and a lot of talent. Larry Nance Jr., I mean, he's in the dunk contest, so you got someone participating in AllStar festivities. Clarkson, a sharpshooter. George Hill, an actual starting point guard, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's true.
Has the height. Isaiah Thomas, that's another thing Kobe realized. Isaiah Thomas, we were on that, 16-game win streak. Isaiah comes back. Everything starts going haywire.
Thomas just really...
He just didn't fit with the Cavs.
No.
And
didn't fit with LeBron either. You can just tell, I don't want to coach this kid.
Yeah, when LeBron hit that buzzer beater, Isaiah Thomas came to celebrate. LeBron goes right past him and goes to...
Right goes to Seti.
Exactly.
Right to Seti, who... You're talking about him a little later, too.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a team now, and that it's huge. Big moves.
You can see J.R. Smith is kind of happy now, too.
Yeah.
I don't have so much pressure on myself as the only three-point shooter on this team.
Exactly.
You got other 3-point shooting stars, and it kind of helps the rest of the team too. Seti looks like just in that Boston game, so much firepower around Seti, who really wants to win. And I think even after that missed dunk by Osman, the team came together around him in a kind of cliche way. But even the guys who were new, that was their first game with the Cavaliers, went to say, hey, we got you, and let's pick back right up. And the next couple of possessions, said he was on a roll. And even the other guys that stuck around as well, Tristan Thompson, who knows if he's going to have a better second half. He better.
He looked better in these last 2 games, I will admit. So finally seeing some alley-oops back from him, finally seeing aggressive rebounding. I think this whole Cavs team got their second wind from this trade.
We still have Kevin Love coming back too.
Exactly.
Don't forget about Love returning. So he'll have to still mesh with these 4 new guys, but I don't think that'll be a problem.
No.
He seems pretty excited about it. He's actually stayed positive through this whole injury thing. This is a totally different Cavs team. 2017-18 will be the year of 2 Cavs teams, I feel like.
Yeah.
The first half team and then the second half team.
I'm excited for the second half team.
You really don't see that a whole lot in the NBA. So, with that being said, do they win the East? Is it even in question anymore?
I think they do. Toronto, like we said earlier, the team that always makes it, but seems like they come short, can't get over that hump in the playoffs. Boston, I think they're just too young. I think they'll be the perennial Eastern champs in about 3-4 years when LeBron starts slowing down, if he ever starts slowing down. So I think, yes, Cleveland, this move might have just won them the Eastern Conference Finals.
Looking back also at the second half, in basketball, you really don't get a whole lot of underdog teams. In baseball, you do. No one really saw the Astros winning the World Series this past year, and no one else saw, Jacksonville, Philadelphia, Tennessee, Buffalo all making the playoffs, and with a team like Philadelphia winning the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
In the NBA, you really don't get that. Just look at the past 3 finals.
It's the powerhouses versus the powerhouses.
But that being said, is there a sleeper team this year that you just look at and maybe in the top 8 in either conference? Is there a sleeper team that you say, hey, maybe they can make a run in the playoffs?
I mean, the only team I can really think about right now is if you consider an Oklahoma City sleeper team. I mean, they are at the 5 seed.
Mm-hmm.
They're starting to come together as a team, the big 3 that they acquired. But other than that, I mean, not really.
I look at Minnesota.
Yeah.
And maybe the T-Wolves. They have a legitimate chance in even knocking off the Thunder if the playoffs started today.
Yeah.
They'd play the Thunder in the first round. They knock them off. And then it'd be either, it looks like maybe the Spurs or the Nuggets. And they've played well with the Spurs this year as well.
Everyone has. I mean,
yeah,
missing Kawhi, that's huge.
But Popovich still has really coached his team well.
I don't know what it is. I mean,
in a conference that you're fighting with the Rockets and Warriors,
he could take a G League team to the playoffs.
Yeah, that is just unreal of how Popovich just consistently wins. That's all he does. Not 40 wins at this point, but it's still acceptable if you're in San Antonio.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe the Timberwolves I'm going with in the Western Conference. Really, I think everyone in the East is a sleeper team at this point. They're all neck and neck.
Mm-hmm.
If you just look at the standings, Wizards and Pacers both 33 team wins, and then Pacers, Bucks, Sixers, and Heat. I'm still trusting the process with Philadelphia. Maybe in a couple more years, guys.
I feel like Philadelphia-Boston could be a really good series. I honestly, for a 2-7 series, I honestly feel like that could come down to like 6 or 7 games.
Because if you look at the way the Celtics played against the new-look Cavs,
they
played like crap.
Exactly.
So maybe that goes 5 or 6. I don't know. But like you said, the playoffs are up in the air this year. But sticking with Boston, and the New Orleans Pelicans of all teams. Isaiah Thomas and his new wardrobe with the Lakers is already causing controversy out west in Hollywood with Rajon Rondo, of all players, who's on the Pelicans. His career is over. Why he's still playing, I have no clue. The Pelicans are a nobody team, but he's somehow stirring a fight with Isaiah Thomas. In their game the other night, Rondo kept on shoving into Thomas, kept on bad-mouthing him, trash-talking on the court. They both got teed up and got ejected from the game. And Rondo goes back to somehow claiming that this is part of a video tribute.
Mm-hmm.
You know more about this than I do?
Yeah.
Because why on earth is Rajon Rondo picking a fight with Isaiah Thomas?
So Isaiah Thomas, you know how on Paul Pierce night he was offered the video tribute because the Cavs were coming to town, even though he got traded, so it didn't happen anyways.
Sure, but he turned it down.
Rondo was upset that he never got a video tribute for his comeback to Boston because he brought them a championship. He was part of the championship team of that Big Four and Garnett, Pierce, Rondo, and Ray Allen, and he never got the tribute. But Isaiah Thomas, after 2 years of being an All-Star, was about to get one.
So he's acting like a 5-year-old who didn't get picked first in the kindergarten game.
Exactly. It's bogus. It's a dumb reason to be mad. And I mean, you look at it. Rondo has held grudges before. He almost didn't invite. They're about to have that 10-year retreat of the Celtics we talked about earlier.
So he really has
a problem.
Doesn't know how to act like an adult, it looks like. What is up with that? That's just not right. And you don't go and pick on a guy who's really having it rough right now. Mm-hmm. And Isaiah Thomas can't seem to find a team. From reports, it sounds like Lakers really aren't going to shop him in the offseason, which I can totally see him not being on the Lakers next year either.
I mean, they got Lonzo.
You can only have one of those egos.
Yeah.
So this is just really stupid in my opinion. The fact that this
even happened.
Yeah. I mean, maybe Rondo's really aggravated that he's not on a winning team anymore.
I mean,
not on
Pelicans
a team
aren't
like with
too bad
when he was with Paul Pierce.
They're at the 8th seed right now. But yeah, nothing like the 2008 team that won the finals in Boston. So,
but I just found that really, really odd. But let's turn our attention to MVP talks. Everyone loves to talk about the MVP. It's down to 4. It seems like always. Kevin Durant, LeBron James, James Harden, and who was it?
Usually Kawhi's in the talks, but
Leonard.
Not this year. But Russell Westbrook.
It was Westbrook, right? Knew I was forgetting someone irrelevant at this point.
Yeah.
But James Harden, he became the 6th straight different pre-All-Star game player to lead in the player efficiency rating. He has a 30.6 PR right now. And if you take a look back at previous players to lead in such a category, you're talking about players like Kawhi Leonard, Russell Westbrook, and just big names like that. Anthony Davis, I believe, as well. LeBron James had it for like 6 straight years. So with that being said, James Harden playing at a different level right now. It seems like he's the leader to win all the MVP votes. Where would you rank those 4 guys right now? Harden, Durant, James, and Westbrook in the MVP voting.
4th is definitely Westbrook. His team's a 5th seed right now, and with the acquisitions of 2 big men, or 2 more big players, he's not like what he was last year, triple-double game in and game out. He's still putting up good numbers, don't get me wrong, but his team's just not performing well, and that's also a factor that plays into it. 3rd, I'm going to say KD. due to the fact that he's a bad boy now in Golden State. Him and Draymond really rubbing off each other, technical after technical, and Golden State's underperforming as well.
Yeah.
Second place, LeBron. If you look at the numbers LeBron's putting up, 9 rebounds per game, just under 9 rebounds per game, 8.1 assists per game, and as always, the 25 points per game. That's close to a triple-double. LeBron playing out of his mind. Cleveland catching rhythm. So I'm going to have him at second. He could win MVP every year if I mean, like you said, he's in the talks every year. If they didn't change it up, he'd be the MVP every year. One, James Harden, I mean, you said it. Player efficiency rating, 30.6. He's playing out of his mind. Houston in first place right now. You got to give it to James Harden if it were right now.
Yeah, the past 6 players to lead at this point, the pre-All-Star game in the player efficiency rating. This year's James Harden. Last year, it was Russell Westbrook. The year before that, Steph Curry when he had his breakout year. Anthony Davis was in 2014-15. Kevin Durant was in 13-14. And then from 2007, 2008, all the way through 2012, 2013, it was LeBron James, pre-All-Star break, after the All-Star break, and then in the playoffs. He led such category, which is the one category you really want to be leading in.
Yeah.
So that is just crazy to think about James in his prime right there.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you said those players right there, and every player that was leading, I'm pretty sure won the All-Star or won the MVP except for Anthony Davis, but that's due to the lack of winning in New Orleans.
He's got to win, and Davis is just.
I feel bad for him.
The Pelicans, for a moment there, it looked like they were trying to turn things around.
Cousins tears his Achilles. I mean,
but bad luck in New Orleans.
Yeah.
You can't win in New Orleans, it feels like. But that brings us to this last interesting story I saw. Chris Bosh attempting a comeback. Now, we all know through his struggles trying to stay on the court, he just has not had it easy with his injuries. What do you make of this story? And if he does come back, does he go to Miami?
I mean, I don't see how he does. At one point, I thought they said it was probably career-ending. If he does come back, I think he joins with one of his friends, like Dwayne Wade or LeBron, depending on wherever they go. It'll be for vet men, and it probably would be a publicity stunt, in my opinion.
That would be a shocking way to do it by Bosh. I remember his blood clot. The NBA issued it as a career-ending injury, which you don't see the NBA ruling that a whole lot. He was optimistic about playing last year, but failed the physical. Now he has said that the Rockets, Warriors, and Raptors are his top 3 teams to come back to.
Oh, that'd be cool. Those
are all winning teams. So obviously he wants to go win.
Yeah.
Not just play, but win.
Get a ring. The Raptors, that would be cool. A little comeback.
Yeah.
Yeah, where he started.
Where his career started and didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, Toronto was bad when he was playing there.
And then he made the right move by going and playing in South Beach with James and Wade, and the rest is history. So that would be really cool to see Bosh. I always enjoyed watching him play.
Mm-hmm.
Never really had a problem with Bosh. I didn't blame him for... He was in a different position than James, so didn't blame him for going to play in Miami. Always played tough and just didn't have any luck with his injuries.
Mm-hmm.
But that moves us to the off-the-court topics now. We're taping this on Friday the 16th, which is the kickoff of All-Star Weekend. Friday night sees the rookie game, the Rising Stars game, and the Celebrity All-Star game. Now, basketball is the one sport I feel like all celebrities are attracted to.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, you don't see a lot of celebrities hanging out at NFL games. Every once in a while, you'll see such occurrence in baseball.
Seems like playoffs is when they all come
Especially
out.
the Dodgers too.
Yeah.
I guess they're in Hollywood. I guess that's
Yeah.
the reason a lot of actors and actresses are Dodgers fans, just because of them being in Hollywood. But basketball, no matter the team, no matter the city, you're always seeing stars sitting on the sidelines, which I think is cool.
Mm-hmm.
In Cleveland, you got the Kardashians. That's a sensitive topic for you. In New York, the Knicks, obviously, that's a huge Madison Square Garden. Celebrities always want to go to
Spike Lee.
Madison Square Garden, and obviously the Lakers too, since they're in Hollywood. So the celebrity game is Friday night, and I guess they added 2 new players to each team. Is Team Lakers against Team Clippers, since I can't talk today, since it is in LA, with the only city with 2 teams. But they added Justin Bieber and Quavo to the celebrity game. I know Bieber can ball. I don't know much about Quavo, but thoughts on the celebrity game?
I mean, like you said, it's interesting to see people that are always in the crowd playing. But, I mean, why not add him? Justin Bieber, you said it back when he was 5, he played.
Yeah.
So have him back, and it will be interesting. It's always fun to watch. It's just because none of them are really good. You always have that one breakout player that's like, wow, he can ball. But
I'm looking at the rosters here for both teams. I know Anthony Anderson, the actor, Miles Brown. I think he's a little kid. They always have a little kid for some reason. I know they had Monet Davis a couple years back. She just balled out. Mm-hmm. She's a Bubba Watson. Ooh. If you're a golf fan, he's playing.
That's gonna be interesting to watch.
Jamie Foxx as well. Nick Cannon from Drumline, I believe. Great actor. Tracy. They always have NBA legends too, just to have at least some basketball talent out there. Tracy McGrady is playing. Jason Williams is playing. Paul Pierce as well.
Wow.
They always have some WNBA players as well. Stephanie Dolson, Candace Parker.
Ooh.
Nate Robinson is also in it as well.
Kevin Hart's not out of it then.
Okay. The one guy that just boggles my mind to see on the roster, Drew Scott of HGTV's Property Brothers.
Really?
What is... nothing against HGTV, but they're stereotypical,
non-sports.
Non-athletes.
That's going to be fun to watch right there. One half of the Property Brothers.
I'm always like watching it.
I'm watching it for him, though.
They have their coaches for Team Clippers, Katie Nolan of ESPN. Paul Pierce is a coach as well. Common is a rapper, right?
Yeah.
He's a coach. And then the other team, Rachel Nichols of ESPN. So they're going with female personalities from ESPN. So as coaches, that's always great to see. And it's the one celebrity game that I think is always competitive. You can't do a celebrity game of football. I don't know. They have like a softball game.
Maybe
in baseball.
flag football, but
yeah. But our final topic here tonight is a sensitive one, I think. And with what happened in Florida this past Wednesday, you just see that sports and politics, they can't be separated. People have tried to do it in the past, and you just can't separate them. I know we're both huge baseball guys, and we saw Anthony Rizzo go to his high school, where his high school was the place it was the shooting happened at. He went back and spoke at the vigil, and you see how athletes are affected by politics.
Yeah.
He gave a really moving speech, and in an interview released yesterday on Thursday. It was filmed back in January with LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and ESPN's Gary Champion on Uninterrupted, which is a platform for athletes to voice their opinions and talk about things other than sports, off the field topics. Mm-hmm. And they were in Akron, driving through Akron, LeBron's hometown, and they touched on the political climate that is 2018, how they both don't agree with where the government's at. They both gave some sensitive words of their opinions on the current presidency, and they were shot down by Fox News' Laura Ingraham of the Ingraham Angle, her show on Fox News. And long story short, she really didn't agree with either of their opinions. To sum it up, her final words were "shut up and dribble," which this is a huge topic right now because for years LeBron James has voiced his opinion on politics, and Kevin Durant has as well. We just saw Steve Kerr give his thoughts on the shooting in Florida. What is your opinion on athletes voicing their opinions on politics? Because I think it's only acceptable if you're at a caliber like LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Steve Kerr.
I mean, everyone has their opinion. I mean, that's what an opinion is. It's your thoughts. You're allowed to voice them, freedom of speech. And some people may not agree with your opinion, but just let it be their opinion. That's all I have to say. I mean, I don't really know what to say.
Yeah, and reading a quote from Ingraham, which I can't say anything about her. I don't know who she is. I don't watch her show. But basically, she said, "This is what happens when, and she said, this is what happens when you attempt to leave high school a year early to join the NBA, and it's always unwise to seek political advice from someone who gets paid $100 million to bounce a ball." And he said, "You're great players, but no one voted for you. Millions elected Trump to be their coach." Which, first off, LeBron graduated from high school. Just because he makes $100 million doesn't mean that...
That's years of hard work and dedication.
Right.
He grew up with nothing.
Exactly. I don't think Abraham realizes where LeBron came from.
He had nothing. He had his mom and
Didn't
his
have
little
a dad.
tyke suit.
Right.
And grew up to be the best arguably the best player to ever play.
Just because you make $100 million doesn't mean the political climate is... you're immune to it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, I'm still a freshman in college, and I could have good political views. No one knows because I don't voice my opinion on politics, but anyone could have a good opinion. I mean, it's their opinion for a reason.
I don't think she realizes what freedom of speech means.
Exactly.
But that she was a little too harsh, and she also said about how they're both barely intelligible and ungrammatical.
I always thought LeBron was a great speaker, in my opinion.
He's probably one of the best businessmen in the world. I mean, to say LeBron James isn't smart, you not know what you're talking about.
He's
lady.
He's pretty intellectual.
He knows what he's doing. He runs other businesses. He's a producer and all that kind of stuff. He's a businessman, not just a basketball player, which is why I adore the guy. But I just thought that was a really interesting story of where politics and sports do mix. You can't separate them, and I, for one, have been someone to try and say how stick to sports. Can't always do that. So, but All-Star Weekend, always an exciting time in the NBA. Prediction: who wins, Team LeBron or Team Curry?
I'm going with Team LeBron, regardless of all those injuries. It's just that starting lineup. Yeah. Westbrook off the bench too. I mean, it looks overpowering.
I totally agree. And might be a fun game. It might get into the 190s, which I hope it doesn't. Maybe this year they'll play a little more defense.
The 190s, nice.
But I'll wrap things up. Always thank you to for tuning into Full Court Talk. Follow Diamond Talk on Twitter at Diamond Talk 20. I know Jeep's show with Eric and Walker Cooper have been starting to predict the upcoming baseball season. That's always an exciting time as well with spring training underway. So until next week we'll definitely recap All-Star Weekend, talk about all the winners from the competitions, and look forward to the final 22 games of the regular season and into the playoffs. So from Will Branza, I'm Brendan Devaney signing off on Full Court Talk.